This was the original trailer for Spider-Man. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. It was edited to cut out a scene showing Spider-Man capturing a helicopter between the World Trade Center. Catch the bad guys. Shots of the World Trade Center were deleted from Serendipity, Zoolander, Sidewalks of New York. A Simpsons episode titled The City of New York versus Homer Simpson was pulled from syndication because of that cartoon. Arnold Schwarzenegger's film, which happened right after 9/11, was postponed, called Collateral Damage. It took place in Los Angeles, but still, I guess it was too traumatic. Now on television, even today, you're more likely to see a German or Swedish or Russian terrorist than any Middle Easterner, because we're all told about how horrible anyone who looked Middle Eastern was being treated, even though the evidence of a backlash epidemic is scarce. Radio station owners at the time, including Clear Channel, put out a suggested list of songs not to play. That PC reaction was a mistake. If you're 15 or 20, the experts robbed you, and so did we, because we listened, of an incredibly valuable piece of American history. We shielded you. We did it, we thought, for the right reasons, but were we right? To get you not to watch it, to avert your eyes. This event changed our country forever, and I don't believe anyone who didn't see it firsthand doesn't understand. This event showed us the worst in people, but it also showed us the best the very next day. An entire generation of kids will look at 9/11 just as another date in history class to memorize. They won't feel it like you do or I do. It's not a turning point for them. They have no recollection of how great the loss was, how great the loss of freedom was. How much freedom have we just pissed away? They'll dutifully walk up to the security line and take their shoes off and hand over any bottled liquid in a container that's larger than 3 ounces, but they have no clue why they're doing it or why their ticket still today has a September 11th fee tacked on to it to cover extra security costs. They know that there's a Homeland Security Department, costs the taxpayers $40 billion a year just to operate its 3,200 different agencies and outside contractors. But they won't know that on September 10th, 2001, Homeland Security was a non-existent term, and we would have never gone for it. They won't remember how hard the politicians and the citizens fought against having the TSA unionized. It was important, only to now have 60% of it unionized while we were asleep. They won't know that not long ago, the thought of someone attacking America's homeland was unimaginable, even impossible. They won't think twice about cameras snapping pictures of them everywhere they go, nor comprehend a life where their every moment isn't being digitally monitored and stored somewhere. It's funny because when I was back in Tampa before September 11th, I was warning about this, and now it's spreading in the name of safety. Bloomberg said, we live in a world where we have to have a balance. We can't just say to everybody that they can go every place and do anything they want. That's why he was putting cameras up on the streets of New York. This month, the FBI began installation of $1 billion in facial recognition cameras that will go all across America. Have you heard any outcry on that? How about the military drones that are now being used by local enforcement agencies? Where is anybody on this? The NSA is building a massive data collection warehouse that is the size of 17 football fields, 5 times the size of the U.S. Capitol building, and 18 times bigger than the White House. You got to be kidding me, right? Where are all the Democrats? And don't think that George Bush started. I don't know who started that, but I'm sure it wasn't it wasn't Barack Obama. I'm sure that was George Bush that started something that big. They'll both do it, Republicans and Democrats. Can't we come together again? How about on the push for a cybersecurity bill? The president now wants to make it an executive order because he couldn't get it through Congress. It's going to prevent a digital Pearl Harbor. Give us more safety. It will give the government authority to commandeer technologies all across the spectrum, including the technology that is bringing you this program in the event of an emergency. It can't just be me, right? It can't just be because I'm not going to vote for Barack Obama. Is there nobody on the other side that's concerned about this, that our every move is being recorded and stored? Remember, if you have enough government regulation, everyone's a criminal. I mean, are you sure that you're not in violation of the IRS code? If they really wanted to get you, of course you're in violation. There's 80,000 pages, and much of it disagrees with itself. The government is giving itself power to take over infrastructure wherever it deems necessary. Geez, our Department of Agriculture has a SWAT team now. Everyone remembers this famous line. I thought about this morning. Remember Ferris Bueller's Day Off? And you remember Ben Stein? Anybody? You remember what he was teaching on the chalkboard? Watch.
We have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone?
Anyone?
Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics.
The Laffer curve. The Laffer curve now, when that movie was made, it was controversial, but now it's not. You know who's confirmed this? At the time that this was controversial, they said 70%. If you tax the people 70%, you start to really, it's just, that's where the hump is. But now, believe it or not, University of California at Berkeley, in fact, the couple whose woman, who's the wife in the couple, I think her name is Romer, she's one of the head economists for Barack Obama. The number is 33%. If you have a tax rate at 33%, you get the maximum revenue. But after that, people stop working, or you start hurting business and everything else until it goes down to zero. So it's zero here. If you tax zero, it's zero. And if you tax 100% at this end, you also get zero revenue, because nobody's got anything to give you. No, there's no business. It's the hump right here. There is a balance, and you can't push it any farther. They think the number is about 33. I'd like to give you this. I thought about this morning. If we have that with taxes and revenue, surely there's got to be the Beck security curve. There's got to be a bump someplace where at some point, if you want freedom, you have to have security. If you have no security, you have no police, there's zero freedom, because nobody can go out of their house. But at some point, you have so much security that you also have zero freedom. Where are we on this curve? I suggest to you we are either at the top or damn near the top. People are no longer trying to trust me on this. Trust me on this. If we continue down this path, people will no longer worry about protecting themselves from an outside force. People will start worrying more about the security of the government. The government will become our biggest problem. We changed as a nation on 9/11 forever. And we are continuing to see drastic changes, and one building on top of the other and the other and the other. The current administration is now friends with the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're giving the Islamic extremist organization $1 billion in an aid package so they can buy German submarines. I mean, what are we giving the Muslim Brotherhood a bunch of money so what are they going to do with attack submarines? What are we, insane? We've befriended the enemy, and we've turned our backs on the closest allies, and now through regulation, predator drones, spying, and political correctness, we've made each other into the enemy. We're draining all of our strength and our finances, and we have very few reserves left in the tank. If we continue along the current course, America will not survive another 11 years. I don't think we'd even survive another 9/11. Unless we renew the promise we made to ourselves 11 years ago. Unless we become the people we said we would be. Can you remember what your life was like the day before September 11th? Because I really don't. But I can tell you what I've done with every single day since. I ask you tonight to take inventory of what you've accomplished in the last 11 years. You know, they haven't even finished building the stupid tower, and it's pissing me off. I got news for you. They haven't gotten it done. But if you look at your life in the last 11 years, if there's not a huge, long list of how you've been changed for the better, go back to the drawing board and start again. I said it 11 years ago, and it holds true today. Nothing can destroy us except for ourselves. How are we doing on that front? I suggest not well. Tomorrow, this network takes a gigantic leap. And I want you here at 5 o'clock because I'm not only going to start that tomorrow, but also I'm going to show you a path that I've been charting over the last 2.5 years that also begins tomorrow. I believe this is the next big phase of my career. And by next summer, I hope to be fully on that path, with some of you perhaps by my side. Others may remain on guard right where you stand today. And others, you might find yourself in a field someplace else. But we have to promise to each other that none of us will go back to sleep like we were on 9/10. Never forget. We owe it to those who died 11 years ago today. We owe it to those who died ever since, trying to fight this that we're now ignoring. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your spouse. You owe it to your children. You owe it to all those founders who came before us that gave us this country, and most of all, we owe it to our God.